We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Charlo gets at Demetrius Andrade after he has a victory versus Liam Williams. We're going to talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Listen, I drop content daily, boxing news, updates, views, and opinions. Give you breakdowns on fights, post-fight assessments. And, you know, we just analyze the fight game. If you like that, that's something you're into, smash the like button, hit the bell icon. Now, let's jump right into it. Lions only, H-Town. Yo, Charlo, keep running your mouth, keep running your mouth. He has a great undisputed fight that was just announced. His brother is also in the fight. And yesterday, after Demetrius Boo-Boo Andrade defeated Liam Williams, a UK fighter, that they said it was his mandatory, DAZN, the platform in which the fight was on, they used this as a springboard to target the Charlos, you know, namely Charlo, and, you know, pivot for a fight between Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, mostly, right? Obviously, this came back to Charlo. He's heard of it at this point, and he has since responded. And I want to kind of talk about his response in this video. Charlo on his verified page says, "Mother effer, sign with that boy across the pond," obviously referring to the UK's Eddie Hearn, an English-British promoter. It said, "Mother effer, sign with that boy from across the pond." 2 years after he pulled out of the fight, a week left in camp. And that was a fight. Some of you guys may not know this if you're newer to boxing. Charlo was scheduled to fight Demetrius Andrade on Showtime. It was on the Amir Khan versus Devin Alexander card. And Charlo was down for the fight, but Andrade pulled out, claiming he wanted more money. And then, you know, they never rescheduled the fight. And that's what he's saying. He's saying 2 years after he pulled out the fight with me, with a week left in camp, now they willing to take whatever. Who career is hurting now, Charlo's or Boo-Boo? Mother effer know damn well Eddie Hearn ain't gonna abide by any of Al Heyman's rules. Best way to protect that weak ass chin. Oh, wow. So he basically believes that Andrade has a suspect chin, and in a fight with him or his brother, you know, that would be exposed. And he's saying that he knows that the fight won't happen basically due to political landscapes, and that Eddie Hearn wants to be the boss, and he's not going to abide by any of Al's rules and not do it the same way. So basically they're just clout chasing the fight. He's saying, look at me now, whose career is hurting now. Wow. I'm gonna read the rest of what he put, and I'm gonna give you some more of my thoughts. He also said, how come Boo-Boo ain't pursuing Canelo? Which is a damn good question. Ironically enough, Ego Stradamus strikes again. This is exactly what I've told you. This is the old media way that they try to paint narratives to, it becomes when people can't do what they're supposed to do and they do their job, then it just becomes a finger pointing game, a blame game. And it's like Eddie Hearn has almost adopted this system from Bob Arum. You know, Pacquiao didn't want to do a drug test with the Floyd Mayweather fight, which was a reasonable request. Pacquiao went up 8 weight classes, and you should have a clean sport. As a result, like Charlo is saying, Eddie Hearn don't want to abide by Al Heyman's rules. Pacquiao didn't want to abide by the A-side Mayweather's request. So the fight didn't happen. So it just became this back and forth battle and banter from Top Rank. Pacquiao was fighting Josh Clottey. The fight was horrible. You know, it looked like it looked like a fix, honestly. You know, things like that. And he's fighting Chris Algieri, got knocked out by Marquez, Brandon Rios, stuff like that, and Tim Bradley. And all in all, Pacquiao later came to the table and agreed to do the drug test several years later. So that's what happens. Is like Bob Arum in Top Rank blamed Floyd Mayweather and said he was scared and stuff like that. And now you see Eddie Hearn, promoter from the UK, who's doing the same thing. His fighter just fought, right? And he said something to the effect, it was actually, I tweeted about it too, because I watched the fight. It was actually rather disrespectful to Andrade. He says, if you are Triple G or Jamal Charlo, you got to be watching this last fight that just happened, Andrade and Liam Williams, and think, hey, I could beat that guy. Why would you say that about your own fighter? Why would you say that? He said in that fight, he said Andrade got tired and he got hurt. So if you're Triple G or Jamal Charlo, you should be thinking, I could beat that guy. I could beat that guy off of that performance. So basically, you're not doing a great job of positively promoting your fighter. And the funny thing is, I don't even think Andrade looked all that bad. People like overdid it and said he was badly hurt. If he was badly hurt, he didn't go down. So, you know, he was able to eat whatever shot and whatever. So I didn't see all that. I gave Liam Williams like 3 rounds. The best attribute that Liam Williams showed is heart. You know, he was a warrior throughout the 12 rounds, and he just kept coming despite getting and eating big shots, but no defense, stuff like that. So Jamel, he's cooking. You know, he's cooking with gas. He's saying, why is Canelo not a priority? Like, why are they clout chasing his brother? You know what I'm saying? And this is what I said. Like, look at it. DAZN at the time, they were trying to hold this over Jamal Charlo, his brother's head, and saying, hey, if you want action at 160 to 168, at the time, he was like, we got Canelo, we got Triple G, we got Andrade, we got Jacobs, we got Caleb Smith, and then they later acquired Billy Joe Saunders. So you say you can't get no looks. You Charlos can't become stars unless you come to DAZN. This is what Eddie Hearn spread. So how come the only fight that people really wanted to see from that division that actually happened was Canelo versus Danny Jacobs, which as the fight happened, it was kind of a boring fight. You know what I'm saying? It didn't really live up to expectations, didn't do any colossal numbers, things like that. So fast forward to the future, how is it that Andrade and Eddie Hearn are clout chasing the Charlo fight, which has inherent difficulties to make with what Jamel's saying, with what I've said, you know, the sides of the street, political warfare and landscapes, and you guys are on opposing platforms and networks and different things like that. They have different game plans and different mindsets. Eddie Hearn also snaked Showtime because Joshua was on Showtime Boxing. And then all of a sudden, after that contract ran out, he pulled Anthony Joshua and took him over to DAZN, a British company, and left Steven Espinoza high and dry when they were doing a good job building Joshua. And the funny thing about that is Joshua, that would have been better for Anthony Joshua's career, for his American profile, to be on an American broadcaster like Showtime Boxing. But Eddie Hearn, you know, kept him on Sky Sports and an app that is based out of the UK. And you don't even hear people in America really talking about Anthony Joshua. So why would Al Heyman not do what he's doing with all the stable of fighters he has, and not make the greatest fights that he can make, and not even worry about what Eddie Hearn's doing and stuff like that? Especially Andrade. You got to look at it, bro. I like Andrade. I like Andrade a lot, and I think he's a skilled fighter, but real is real. And at the end of the day, Andrade, his resume, you know, he's called out for the best, but we know he's been a boogeyman, and they haven't allowed for those fights. So at a certain point, you got to look at it. Andrade is 33, 34, whatever age he is, right? And he hasn't had none of the marquee fights. And he's over there with a lot of the marquee fighters. Canelo keeps going back to DAZN. Canelo has been fighting on DAZN, whether he's a free agent now or not. His last 2 fights, or his upcoming fight and his last fight, was even on DAZN. Caleb Smith and Billy Joe Saunders. But there's a ton of Caucasian fighters that Canelo has fought on the platform. Rocky Fielding, you know, Caleb Smith, and also Billy Joe Saunders upcoming. And then he has a fight with a Turkish fighter, and he has a fight with probably one black fighter on the platform, DAZN, which is Danny Jacobs. And Andrade is nowhere in the mix. Same thing with Triple G. Triple G fought one black fighter, which was Steve Rolls, a guy we never heard of. Hell no, guys. And then he fought Derenchenko, who I thought beat him from the Ukraine. And he never rematched him, even though it was a tough fight where I thought he lost. And then he fought another Caucasian fighter, Camille Sesmeta, right? And then now the Charlos got their brand lit. They had a Showtime pay-per-view. You see him on PJs and you see the photo shoots. And Andrade's still stuck in the same place he was with before he got Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has done nothing to positively impact and promote Andrade. And it's funny because, like, real talk, I'm just being real. Andrade was taking shots at the Charlo, not Jamel, but he was taking shots just in true Eddie Hearn fashion. He was taking shots saying, oh, why is Jamal fighting Montiel? It's such a great fight. He was being sarcastic, right? Right? Here it is. He says, big shout out to my guy, Jamal Charlo and PBC for making a statement and fighting Montiel when no other middleweight champion would. I can't wait for this. Lions only. Say no to PED's Twin Magic. But the ironic thing is this, is just being realistic. You're trying to roast Jamal Charlo for fighting Montiel, who just knocked out Kirkland and destroyed him. And you're attempting to be funny. But one fight ago, you were fighting Lucas Keeler, and because you teamed up with Eddie Hearn, you keep fighting Eastern European or European fighters that no one's ever really heard of, like Lucas Keeler and Liam Williams, because they happen to be tethered to what Eddie Hearn got going on. So it's like you're not really in a position. That's like me having an ugly girlfriend and I'm making fun of someone else for their girlfriend, but my girlfriend looks like a hyena. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. You like literally fought Liam Williams the other day, which is not a big name, right? And then you fought Lucas Keeler, but then you're trying to roast Jamal Charlo for fighting Montiel. You know, boxing is a lot of weirdo energy in the atmosphere. And like Mel Charlo was saying, why is he not pursuing Canelo? You were in the same division. You also talked about moving up to 168. How is it that Jamal Charlo is on your mind? Like, that's on your mind. So listen, and this is the game they do, and they often do it with African-American black fighters. They want to pit black fighter. They want to say Demetrius Andrade, yeah, fight Jamal Charlo and advocate for that, but they're not advocating for Triple G to fight Demetrius Andrade. They're not advocating for Canelo to fight Andrade, and they are on the same platform for the most part. You know what I mean? But then when it comes to Danny Jacobs, a black fighter, got to fight Jamal Charlo. Demetrius Andrade got to fight Jamal Charlo or Jacobs. You know, that's the only way old media will be satisfied, right? But at the end of the day, you're on the same platform as Billy Joe Saunders, and he failed a drug test and copped out of your fight. Never rescheduled a fight. Hasn't really fought anyone since that point that's bigger than Andrade, right? And he's been awarded a fight with Canelo Alvarez. So it's clear to me that the Charlos have lapped Andrade in terms of branding, and the PBC vehicle has positively done more and affected, you know, aside from them and their fight ability and skill, they became lit in a shorter space of time. The reality is what I'm saying. The reality is I knew about a Demetrius Andrade before I even knew who the Charlos were like that. And in all this time, the Charlos came out and lapped him with their branding and with their fights. And like, how are you going to roast Jamal Charlo? He just fought Derenchenko his very last fight. So Eddie Hearn and all these UK games and old media games trying to make it look like Jamal Charlo don't want to fight. He just fought Derenchenko, a guy Triple G refused to fight and ducked the first time when he was the mandatory, right? Because he didn't want to miss out on the Canelo rematch. And then when he finally fought Derenchenko, he got his butt whooped and he should have lost to him. And then Jamal Charlo took out the trash. So why are we doing this fake agenda from Eddie Hearn and trying to pit the two Charlo brothers against, oh, Jamel's doing a good thing, but Jamal, why is he fighting Montiel? Okay, why did you make Lucas Keeler versus Andrade? Why did you put Selecki after he had a war with Gabe Rosado and Danny Jacobs beat him, and then you gave him to Andrade? Andrade ain't getting no alley-oops. He ain't getting no looks. So it's just like you're not one to really speak. You're not one to really speak. It's like looking at a millionaire and saying, haha, you don't have $1 billion, but you don't even have $1 million. You don't even have 100,000. How are you going to make fun of a millionaire? You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're seeing, just this goofy weirdo energy in boxing where like Andrade is around. They were even bragging about it. They were saying all these guys that Andrade needed to fight. They're saying Charlo needed to come to DAZN to fight because they had all the best fighters 160, 168. They didn't make none of those fights. Meanwhile, you look at PBC, Jermell Charlo is fighting the Al Haymon advised fighter for Undisputed. No problems. He just got the belt and the fight is being made, right? Derevyanchenko is Al Haymon fighter. Jermall Charlo is Al Haymon fighter. The fight is being made. So what we're actually seeing is a deflection tactic from old media and people like Eddie Hearn, where look, Jason Rosario, the fight got made. Charlo fighting him, like no problem. These fights are happening. It's the people who can't produce. You don't know how to brand Andrade. You know, you can't get him Triple G or Canelo or none of the popping fights on DAZN, Billy Joe Saunders. So now you crying to the Charlo brothers, saying that he need to fight. One of them needs to fight Andrade. But what about all the DAZN fighters from 160 to 168? How come he ain't fighting them? Because on PBC, like I said, Jermall Charlo, he fought another PBC fighter that was tough his last fight, Derevyanchenko. Jermell keeps fighting tough Al Haymon advised fighter, Erickson Lubin, fighting fights with Brian Castano, Jason Rosario. So once again, all the fights on PBC, the in-house fights that you would think would be the easiest to make, they're being made. Meanwhile, Andrade and Eddie Hearn are trying to spread and plant the seeds that the fight that's inherently harder to make because of two different platforms needs to be made. You know, you see DAZN saying, oh, you know, trying to blame the Charlo. Why won't Charlo fight Andrade? Why won't Andrade fight Triple G? Why won't Andrade fight Saunders? Why won't Andrade fight Canelo? These are all on your network. Why are you not making Caleb Smith versus Andrade? You can't make nothing. So we know what it is. It's a blame game because certain people can't pull the trigger, period. Let me know how I did. That was my response, Jermell's response. Also sign up for TUBEBUDDY using my link. It's about to go down. Y'all not messing with what I'm doing. Stop it. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TUBEBUDDY. I've used TUBEBUDDY for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TUBEBUDDY is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TUBEBUDDY and level up your channel faster. We working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.